On this episode of Making Stuff, we bend some metal, we smash stuff, we play around with sharp objects, and we show you how to make leather earrings. Hey everyone, I'm Christy.
I'm Derek.
And we are Steadfast Rebels.
Thanks for joining us on this week's tutorial video. Everyone who joined us on our last tutorial, we really appreciate everyone who watched and cued in on all their comments and likes and subscriptions from it. But we've got another great tutorial here on the bench for you. This is Christy's specialty.
That's right. Today we are making eco-friendly earrings from upcycled leather. We have a variety of materials and tools in front of you. We're going to go over those first. But just as an example, I'm wearing a pair. We also have several lovely examples over here. Basically, we're taking second use leather or leather from larger businesses, manufacturers who make, let's say, wallets, purses, shoes, larger items. They take the full hides of leather, cut out the pieces they need, and they end up with weird shaped scraps and pieces, like these. So you can find these, well actually Derek found all of our leather on eBay, and we also found some at a secondhand craft store.
The other thing you can look for leather scraps as well is at thrift stores. You can find purses. We have found bags like this of leather scraps from projects at thrift stores for like $1, $2.
Yep.
But a lot of these come in a lot of different colors, flavors, styles.
Yep.
Everything
yeah, you can
there.
also find sample packs from, leather upholsterers, that kind of thing. But basically, we're taking the scraps from those companies and using these smaller pieces to make even smaller accessories like earrings, little hair clips, things like that.
Yeah, and about a pound of leather from these places when looking online will run you anywhere from about $10 to $15. So not very expensive to get yourself into another fun hobby.
Especially considering, as you can already see from this tiny piece, I've made several earrings from this piece.
And then you can see how we've gotten down to the scraps.
If you're really judicious or really obsessive like I am about getting just the smallest little pieces that you can make a small piece of leather like this go really far. So they don't need to be big. So let's go over the materials. Aside from the leather, of course, we have a lot of tools on the bench in front of us.
And don't be nervous about needing all these tools. This is an extreme amount of what you can get into and need, but honestly, breaking it down, about a $30 to $40 investment will get you the tools you needed for a very fun return on a hobby. And then if it's something you really do enjoy, you can start selling them at shows online. We sell them in our Etsy store. We also sell them at very popular at our art markets that we do.
Yes, yeah, and on that note, I will say really quickly, a lot of people that I've sold earrings to mention that they love how lightweight the leather earrings are. Like, they weigh nothing. I forget I'm wearing them. So if you don't want heavy earrings hanging on your ears, these are great. So I was going to say, basically, once you have your leather, you're going to need something to cut the leather with. Now, the most basic way you can do this is to make your own templates out of cardstock, paper, whatever, and then get yourself a good pair of scissors and just cut it out by hand. It will take you a lot longer, but that is the most basic tool you can use is a pair of scissors. Other than that, we have a bunch of leather dies like these.
So when searching these online, there's a couple different names they go by. You can go by a clicker die, a steel rule die, leather punch dies, but they come in a variety of shapes, and it has made it much easier to make a large amount of them quickly for shows for us. And so making a small investment into one of these dies here is anywhere from about $6 to $15. A set like this with a multitude of shapes, this is about $20, and this does so many different things for you. These specialty ones here, these are, I was just checking the prices on them online. They're still around $10 to $15, depending on what shapes you go with and styles you go. And the fun part is Christy will mix and match these. Because you get one shape does not mean you're limited to that style consistently. You can take some of these and be creative, cut them in half with scissors after you cut them out, make different cuts out of them with circles, dies that we have here, so you can create polka dots out of them and all kinds of variety of different shapes.
So just so you can kind of see, you'll put your leather piece on there, press it, and out will come the perfectly made shape, just like that.
And now you might be asking, well, how do I cut these without any proper tools? Well, we have a variety of presses that we use for different purposes. Something like this guy here, this is your standard crafting Sizzix. These are discontinued, but I bought this particular one at the thrift store for $3. This is another leather cutting machine, and it's designed again for paper, leather cutting, and steel rule cutting. This is a higher price one, but you can find something like this on Facebook Marketplace. A lot of times people, because they're older, they are getting rid of them for like $50, $60. If you don't want to wait and take the time to try to maybe find one of these, this is something available at your local hardware store. This is an arbor press. Amazon has these available as well. This is with a coupon. I think we got this one for $40 on sale.
And this is the one I use the most. It's a 1-ton press. So as you can see, it's got this bar that moves up and down with the handle. You'll put your pieces in here, use that weight behind this 1-ton press to help you cut out the leather. It's really handy.
Yeah.
But again, you can also just use a pair of scissors.
And then the last thing is, if you don't have presses, hammers.
Yep.
Hammers and something like a cutting board, and the cutting board we have on the table. This is a standard cutting board you get from any culinary store, kitchen store, and we use it for everything, not just the jewelry side of things. So you can bang on this and cut it, and you're not gonna like unsharpen your blades by pounding on one of these. And it just takes a couple good hits with the hammer, and you're pretty solid on cutting right through your leather. This is not super thick leather that we're using as well. This is very thin. This is upholstery leather and like purse leather, like we said. So it's a lot more malleable and easier to cut through than some of the thicker like hide leather you use for making bigger projects.
Yeah, so same process. You put your leather, you put your die cut down, and then you would just hammer it into the leather, and it will cut it out just the same with the same sharp blades there. So once you have your leather, then you need your jewelry finding pieces to put your earrings together if you're making earrings. I have my handy little, tackle box here of all of my little bits and pieces. You're gonna need your jump rings, your earring hooks, whatever you're gonna make. And those, of course, you can find at craft stores like Joann's, Hobby Lobby, of course, online. There's all kinds of places to find jewelry making supplies.
Again, price point on something like that, just looking up on most recent prices, you can find some hypoallergenic stainless steel or sterling silver options for about $10. And with the amount that comes in it, it's anywhere from about like 20 to 30 pairs of earrings you're going to be able to make from those kits. We tend to go with hypoallergenic stainless steels, sterling silver options, just because we don't want anyone having irritations from the metals that are used. There are cheaper options. We tend to not really play around with those. We like to have a little bit higher quality, and it doesn't really add that much more cost to your overall end result.
Yep. Then you're also going to need a pair of leather hole punch, little leather hole punch tool.
Yeah.
You can also use hand punches like this one where you place it, hammer it, does the same thing. There's a variety of different ways. You can use an awl. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but you could use an awl to hammer your hole in the same way. And then other tools as well will be your jewelry pliers. I have some non-marring ones, some regular conical ones, and then just a standard pair of pliers.
Yeah. And try to look for ones that have no teeth on it. That's going to keep it from marring and damaging any of your jump rings or your hardware that you're using. Looking up prices on those, I was able to find a high-rated set of 4 pliers for under $10. So
yeah, that's these non-marring ones. They have plastic on the tip so that it doesn't leave marks on your jewelry.
So just a quick breakdown of where you're at with like what you might need to get started with it. Set of pliers, some hardware, some leather, and a die, and a hammer. That's really about 30 to 40 bucks, and you can start making some stuff. And what's really fun is we started off with one die and kind of just figured out what we liked. Then we picked up another die, and it really allowed the creativity to really like, okay, we're limited to this one piece, but we can make a lot of different versions of it. And finding leather, you can find leather pretty cheap nowadays. secondhand and upcycling with upholstery and like bulk scrap leather.
Yeah, so you could look a couple search terms, scrap leather or second use, because they consider the first use the large hides that the larger companies use, and this would be a second use. So we're taking that same leather, taking their scraps, and we're giving it another life, right? So instead of going to landfill, this is what makes it eco-friendly, right? Instead of going to landfill, we're making even more out of those small pieces of leather.
And then we take the scraps like this, and we still utilize these scraps as well. There's a couple different ways that we use these scraps, and in some future tutorials, we'll share some of those ways with you guys as well. So we try to be, as we said, eco-friendly as possible with all the stuff we're doing and not trying to add more into that whole process there.
Yeah.
One last thing that you can do, and we're getting into here right there, that's our barge cement, all-purpose cement. This allows for a few other things you could be made with the leather cutouts that you do here.
Yeah, so with something like barge, you can use the brush that's included in the can, and then this is also just a little silicone, looks like a little paintbrush, but just a little silicone brush that cleans off more easily than, let's say, a regular paintbrush. And that is what I use to glue the leather. It's a permanent adhesive so that you can make things like these layered hair clips.
Breaking it all down, that's everything you kind of need to get started with that. Let's get into making a quick pair of earrings here so you can kind of see how we go through our process.
So to start off, I'm going to take my piece of leather here. This happens to be a very nice strip that was cut off of whatever they were using before. I'm going to take my piece of leather and I'm going to use this, I don't know, what would you call that shape? It's kind of like a
Oblong,
squared off.
square.
Oval, maybe, squared off oval shape. These are the ones I'm wearing right now. I'm going to take this squared off oval shape and load this into, my press. So, and one thing we did forget to mention, in our press we have these kind of little mini cutting boards. As you can see, we've used it a ton and it just keeps going. So
yeah, something like that we picked up at our local leather shop. And so you can find stuff like this online again, but also at your local leather shops and craft stores like that.
Yeah, so we just want to put this down in our press so that the die has something to kind of bite into and we're not ruining our die by cutting it directly on this metal piece. All right, so I load my leather in here, line up my die the way I want it, and then I'm just gonna give it one good press. There we go. And if it's, if you're in a quiet room and you're listening, you can hear the die bite into the leather, so you've cut through. If you're not sure, you can always just give it a couple more little presses, move it around, make sure you got all of the edges, the corners, and when you pull it away, you should have a nice clean hole where it cut. Okay, then I'm just gonna pop those pieces out of there. And there's our shape, just like that. And one step I do like to do before I make the jewelry is sometimes you'll notice little rough edges on the piece of leather. So I like to take my scissors and just kind of clean up those edges a little bit.
There's a lot of ways you can finish leather. You can burnish it with a burnishing tool. You can trim it like this. The raw edge that we have here, it's kind of a style that we like. So we just trim up the little bits that are there and then we go from that point.
Yeah, I definitely prefer a bit of a more rustic style. So I'm not going to spend too much time cleaning this up. I like the fact that handmade things look handmade. I don't think they need to have a perfectly, clean finish. It looks like someone actually had their hands on it and made it. It wasn't just made by a machine. All right, so once those are all trimmed and cleaned up, I'm going to take my hole punch here and I'm going to punch a little hole right in the top. Now, I'm not measuring this. I'm just kind of eyeballing it and putting it where I think it should go. But you could certainly make yourself a little template if you wanted to.
Yeah, the nice part about this tool compared to just a single punch, this has 5 different sizes inside on a little rotating wheel. So for different projects, you can use it. Or if you have different size jump rings or you're doing something where you want a larger hole, you're not stuck with just a single punch like this guy here. But like we said, if all you're doing is just a one thing, this is a great little like less than $5 tool that you can get to do the same thing with that $20 hand tool here.
All right, so now we're gonna grab our jump rings and our earring hooks and we're gonna assemble these earrings.
So what you can see, it's just very easy, simple hardware. The jump rings that are there, what they do is you just kind of split them with the 2 pliers here.
Yep, so I'm going to take my 2 pairs of pliers and I'm going to twist them away from each other. What you don't want to do with jump rings is try and open them like this, like a mouth, right? You want to twist them away from each other so that when you twist them back, you can get that ring really nicely lined up and closed cleanly. I'm going to put my piece of leather on there and then I'm going to put my earring hook on the other side. Thank you. Forgot the word. Mom brain. And then just a quick tip, you want to make sure that the earring hook is facing the right direction. There are so many times where I'm just like in autopilot and I'm not paying attention, and then I look at like pairs of earrings and I'm like, well, I put the earring hook on backwards. I gotta undo it and redo it. So just make sure you're paying attention and you're putting the earring hook on the right direction. And then I'm just gonna take that jump ring, my 2 pliers again, and do the same motion in the opposite direction and twist it closed. All right, so I've got the first one done here, and I'm gonna do the same exact process with the other earring. All right, and just like that, with a couple pieces of leather, some jump rings, and earring hooks, you have yourself a beautiful pair of handmade earrings. And if you do decide that you want to maybe give these as a gift or get into craft markets and selling these, you can also pick up some earring backing cards like these. These happen to be craft paper ones, but they come in white, black, all kinds of designs. Online, local craft stores, you can find things like these. This is what we use to sell our earrings and display our earrings. And as you can see, the possibilities are endless. You don't have to just stop at leather. You can combine and mix and match materials. Over here I have some earrings that are leather and wood. I have leather and resin. I've even taken leather and fabric paint and painted the leather to give it a really cool metallic effect with these ones. Just the possibilities are endless. It's totally up to you. The sky's the limit. Once you get started, I have a feeling you're going to get hooked and you're going to want to just keep making more and more and more.
One of the best parts about this whole process here is it's very inexpensive to get into, and it doesn't take much time to go through the process. Christy, it took you about maybe a minute to really cut those out and then put the hardware on there. We started with one die. The leather that you get, depending on where you get it from, you don't really know what colors you're going to get, so it really opens up the creativity, possibilities with it, because sometimes you might get some sparkly stuff, sometimes you might get some plain colors, but start with a die, start with maybe a kit that has different shapes, because it's going to really allow you to be creative and let those juices just start flowing with it. But guys, that's it for this tutorial here. We appreciate you guys joining us on this one. We hope we inspire you to try and craft something like this. If this is not your jam, guess what? We've got more tutorials coming with a lot more things that we make and we get ourselves into. And we're going to do our best we can to share with you the inexpensive ways to get into the hobbies, because that's how we started with it. We didn't have the best and greatest tools off the bat, and we appreciated what we were, not appreciated, but we enjoyed what we were doing with the hobby. So we started investing into better tools to make our market side of things much easier and more efficient for our costs for everything. So guys, possibilities, like you heard Christy say, are endless with this. And if you guys enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe.
If you have any questions, make sure you put those in the comment section down below. And if you do decide to get into leather earring making, please share with us, because I want to see what you guys come up with.
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining us on this episode of Making Stuff, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.